When a man tells you you're different from every woman he's ever met, but he can't seem to make time to see you. When he says he's falling for you, but his actions tell a completely different story. When everything feels too good to be true, but something deep in your gut whispers a warning you can't quite put into words. You're not imagining things. Your intuition is trying to protect you from something your heart doesn't want to see. Today, we're going to decode the subtle and not so subtle signs that a man's interest in you isn't genuine. And by the end of this video, you'll have the clarity you need to never waste another moment of your precious time on someone who doesn't deserve it. Welcome back to The Heart Code, where we explore the psychology behind relationships, decode human behavior, and empower you with the knowledge to create the love life you truly deserve. If this is your first time here, you're in the right place. We don't do surface-level advice. We go deep into the patterns, the psychology, and the truth that most people are afraid to talk about. Before we dive in, I want to ask you for a small favor. If you find value in this video, please take a moment to hit that like button. It tells YouTube that this content matters and helps us reach more women who need to hear this message. Drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts or share your own experiences. Your stories help other women feel less alone. Share this video with a friend who might need to hear this today. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our uploads. We post content that could genuinely change the trajectory of your relationships and your life. And if you really want to support what we do here, consider leaving a super thanks. It directly supports the channel and allows us to keep creating content that serves you. Every bit of support means the world to us. Now, let's talk about something that affects so many women, especially those of us who've lived enough life to know better, yet somehow still find ourselves questioning whether we're seeing things clearly. We're talking about insincere interest, the kind that looks real, feels real, sounds real, but ultimately leads nowhere. The kind that leaves you confused, questioning yourself, and wondering if you somehow misread everything. Here's the thing, as mature women, we bring so much to the table. We've built careers, raised families, overcome challenges, developed emotional intelligence, and cultivated our sense of self. We know who we are, we know what we want. We're not playing games. But that doesn't mean we're immune to being played. In fact, our very maturity, our emotional availability, our capacity for deep connection can sometimes make us targets for men who aren't genuine. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. Not because I want to make you cynical or closed off, but because knowledge is power. And the more clearly you can see the signs of insincere interest, the faster you can move away from what's not serving you and toward what is. Let's start with something fundamental. Genuine interest has a signature, it has a feeling, it has consistent patterns that you can recognize once you know what to look for. And insincere interest has its own signature too. It creates confusion, it creates doubt, it creates a gap between words and actions that you can't quite reconcile, but you keep trying to explain away. The first and most reliable indicator that a man's interest isn't genuine is inconsistency. And I don't just mean inconsistency in how often he reaches out, though that's certainly part of it. I'm talking about inconsistency between what he says and what he does, between how he presents himself and how he actually shows up, between the future he paints and the present he creates. When a man is genuinely interested in you, there's alignment. His words match his actions. His promises match his follow-through. The energy he brings today matches the energy he brought yesterday. You don't feel like you're constantly trying to reconcile two different versions of him. You don't find yourself making excuses for why he said one thing but did another. You don't spend hours analyzing whether he meant what he said or whether you misunderstood. But when interest isn't genuine, inconsistency is the calling card. He tells you he can't wait to see you, but when you suggest specific times, he's suddenly vague or unavailable. He says he wants to build something real with you, but he never introduces you to anyone in his life. He talks about a future together, but he doesn't make concrete plans for next week. He says you're a priority, but his actions consistently place you somewhere around option 3 or 4. This inconsistency creates a specific kind of emotional experience. You feel like you're on a roller coaster. One day you're on top of the world because he's attentive and affectionate and everything feels right. The next day you're in free fall because he's distant or dismissive or disappeared entirely. And then just when you're about to give up, he shows up again with just enough attention to pull you back in. If you're experiencing this pattern, understand something crucial. This isn't about him being busy or stressed or going through something. This is about him keeping you in a state of uncertainty, because uncertainty is useful to someone whose interest isn't genuine. It keeps you focused on him. It keeps you trying to earn the good version of him. It keeps you accepting less than you deserve because you keep getting just enough to maintain hope. Genuine interest doesn't create emotional whiplash. It creates security. It creates consistency. It creates a sense of knowing where you stand. So if you're constantly confused about where you stand with someone, that confusion is your answer. Someone who truly wants to be with you makes sure you never have to question it. Now, let's talk about another major sign. The timing is always somehow off. When interest isn't genuine, there's always a reason why now isn't the right time. He wants to be with you, but he just got out of a relationship and needs time to heal. He's crazy about you, but work is overwhelming right now, and he can't give you the attention you deserve. He sees a future with you, but he needs to get his finances in order first. He's falling for you, but his kids need his focus right now. And here's where it gets tricky, because some of these things might actually be true. Life is complicated. People do have legitimate responsibilities and challenges, but genuine interest finds a way. Genuine interest doesn't put you on hold indefinitely. Genuine interest doesn't ask you to wait in limbo while he sorts out his life without including you in that process. The key difference is this: a genuinely interested man will acknowledge his challenges but still find ways to include you and move forward, even if slowly. He'll communicate clearly about his situation. He'll give you a realistic picture of what he can offer right now. He'll respect you enough to let you make an informed decision about whether you want to stick around. And most importantly, you'll see actual progress over time. Not just promises of progress. But when interest isn't genuine, the timing will always be off, and the reasons will shift. First, it's work. Then it's his ex. Then it's his kids. Then it's his health. Then it's his parents. There's always something preventing him from fully committing, yet never anything significant enough to make him actually let you go. Because the truth is, he wants to keep his options with you open without actually giving you what you need. This creates a situation where you're perpetually waiting for him to be ready, waiting for circumstances to change, waiting for the relationship to progress, waiting for him to finally choose you fully. And meanwhile, your life is on pause in this area. You're not fully available to meet someone who could give you what you want right now, because you're investing your emotional energy in someone who keeps telling you someday. Here's a truth that might sting but could also set you free. If a man really wants to be with you, he figures it out. He doesn't make you wait indefinitely. He doesn't string you along with maybes and somedays. He moves heaven and earth to make it work. Or he's honest enough to tell you he can't give you what you need and lets you go. So if you've been waiting for months or years for someone to be ready, ask yourself honestly what you're really waiting for. Because someone who's genuinely interested doesn't make you feel like you're waiting for your life to start. They make you feel like life is happening now with them. Let's move to another critical indicator: The relationship exists primarily in private or in limited contexts. This is especially common with older women who are dating. When a man's interest isn't genuine, there's often a compartmentalization that happens. The relationship exists, but only in certain spaces. Maybe you only see each other at your place or his place, never out in public. Maybe you're a regular part of his weekday evenings, but weekends, somehow he's always unavailable. Maybe you talk and text constantly, but he never quite makes time to actually see you. Maybe you're intimate, but he never wants to go on actual dates. Maybe he's affectionate in private, but distant or different when you're around other people. This compartmentalization tells you something important. It tells you that he's managing how and where you fit into his life. And when someone is managing your presence that carefully, it usually means they're protecting something. Maybe they're protecting another relationship. Maybe they're protecting their image or reputation. Maybe they're protecting their freedom to pursue other options. But whatever they're protecting, it's not your feelings or your dignity. When a man is genuinely interested in building a real relationship with you, he wants to integrate you into his life, not in a rushed or pressured way, but naturally and progressively. He wants to share experiences with you. He wants his friends to meet you. He wants to be seen with you. He wants you to be part of his world, and he wants to be part of yours. If you're being kept separate from the rest of his life, if you're a secret or a side story or a private pleasure, that's not genuine interest in building a relationship. That's convenience. That's having his needs met without offering commitment. That's using the connection for what it provides him without reciprocating with what it would cost him to truly let you in. And I want to be clear about something. This isn't about moving too fast or having boundaries. Healthy relationships absolutely have appropriate pacing and respect each other's need for some independence. But there's a huge difference between healthy boundaries and compartmentalization. Healthy boundaries are mutual and discussed. Compartmentalization is one-sided and avoided when you try to talk about it. If you bring up wanting to spend time together differently or wanting to meet people in his life, and he deflects or gets defensive or makes you feel like you're being demanding, pay attention. Someone who wants you in their life welcomes these conversations. Someone who's trying to keep you in a box resists them. Now let's discuss something that's particularly painful to recognize. He engages with you primarily when it's convenient for him and disengage when it's not. This pattern is about emotional availability being conditional based entirely on his needs and circumstances, never adjusted for yours. Think about it this way. When does he reach out? When does he want to see you? When does he become affectionate and attentive? If you look at the pattern honestly, you'll probably notice it aligns with when he's bored, lonely, stressed, or in need of validation, comfort, or physical intimacy. But when his life is full, when he's busy with other things, when he's got other options or entertainment, you barely hear from him. And here's what makes this particularly confusing. When he is engaged, it can feel incredibly genuine. He might be attentive, affectionate, interested in your life, complimentary, and emotionally present. So you think, this is real. This is who he really is. He's just been busy or stressed lately. But then he disappears again, and you're left confused about which version is real. The truth is, both versions are real, but they're both also conditional. He genuinely enjoys your company and connection when it serves his needs in that moment. And he genuinely doesn't prioritize you when something else is more interesting or useful to him. This isn't genuine interest in you as a person. This is appreciation for what you provide for him as a resource. A genuinely interested man maintains consistent connection regardless of what else is happening in his life. Yes, the intensity might fluctuate. Yes, he might have busier and less busy periods. But the baseline care and consideration and communication remains steady. You don't feel like you're competing for his attention or like you only matter when nothing better is available. If you're constantly feeling like you're an option rather than a priority, like you're fitting into the gaps in his life rather than being a valued part of it, that's not genuine interest. That's convenience. And you deserve so much more than to be someone's convenient option. Let's talk about conversation patterns because they reveal so much. When a man's interest isn't genuine, conversations tend to be shallow, self-focused, or manipulative in subtle ways. He might ask surface-level questions about your day, but never go deeper into understanding who you really are, what you value, what you dream about, what challenges you face. Or the opposite might happen. He might ask very personal questions very quickly, getting you to open up and be vulnerable while revealing very little about himself. This creates a false sense of intimacy and connection while actually maintaining his emotional distance. Pay attention to whether he remembers things you tell him. When someone is genuinely interested, they listen, they retain information, they ask follow-up questions, they reference things you told them weeks ago. They show that they're actually paying attention and that your life matters to them. But when interest isn't genuine, you'll notice you have to repeat yourself. Things that are important to you don't stick in his memory. He doesn't ask how that meeting went that you were nervous about. He doesn't remember that you had plans with your daughter this weekend. He doesn't recall that you mentioned struggling with something. Because he's not really listening. He's just filling time or going through the motions of conversation without actual interest in who you are beyond what you can provide for him. Also notice whether conversations are balanced. Does he share about his life, or does he keep things vague? Does he ask about your thoughts and feelings, or is it mainly him talking about himself? Does he engage with your opinions, or does he dismiss or minimize them? Is there intellectual and emotional reciprocity, or does it feel one-sided? When interest is genuine, conversation flows. There's mutual curiosity, there's balanced sharing, there's respect for each other's perspectives. There's depth, there's substance, there's a sense of truly getting to know each other. When interest isn't genuine, conversations feel either superficial or transactional. They serve a purpose, either keeping you engaged or getting what he needs, but they don't build real intimacy. Another major sign is that he's hot and cold, present and distant, interested and aloof, and you can never quite pin down why it shifts. This is different from the inconsistency we talked about earlier. This is specifically about emotional temperature. The warmth of his attention and affection fluctuates in ways that leave you constantly adjusting and trying to figure out what changed. This pattern is particularly destabilizing because it messes with your sense of reality. When he's hot, everything feels amazing. You feel seen, desired, valued, special. You think, this is it. This is real connection. But then he goes cold and you're left wondering what you did wrong. Did you say something? Did you come on too strong? Did you not show enough interest? Did you misread the situation? So you adjust your behavior. You try to recapture that warmth. You might reach out more or pull back. You might be more accommodating or try to create space. You might be more affectionate or more reserved. You're constantly trying to figure out the formula that will bring back the warm version of him and prevent the cold version from returning. But here's the thing, his hot and cold behavior isn't about you. It's about him managing his own ambivalence or serving his own purposes. He might genuinely enjoy your connection, but not enough to commit. So he pulls close when he wants the benefits of connection, then pulls away when he feels it's getting too real or demanding. Or he might be deliberately keeping you off balance because that uncertainty makes you more invested and less likely to have clear boundaries. Either way, this pattern isn't about genuine interest. Genuine interest has a consistent emotional temperature. Not that it's always intense or passionate, but that there's a baseline warmth and care that you can rely on. You don't feel like you're walking on eggshells or like the person you're with could evaporate at any moment. If you're experiencing hot and cold behavior, stop trying to figure out what you're doing wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. This is about his inability or unwillingness to show up consistently. And that's not something you can fix by adjusting your behavior. It's something he needs to address within himself. And you need to decide whether you're willing to be treated this way while he figures it out, if he ever does. Let's address something that's particularly relevant for mature women. When his interest isn't genuine, he often treats you like a therapist, mother figure, or emotional support system without reciprocating that care. This is common because older women are often naturally nurturing, wise, emotionally intelligent, and good listeners. And some men see that and view it as a resource to extract rather than a gift to cherish. You'll notice this if he constantly comes to you with his problems but isn't available when you need support. If he opens up about his stress, his ex, his struggles, his fears, and you're always there to listen, validate, and help him process. But when you share your challenges, he's suddenly dismissive or unavailable or changes the subject. This creates a very one-sided dynamic where you're giving emotional labor without receiving emotional support. And it can feel confusing because the depth of what he shares with you feels intimate. It feels like real connection. But intimacy isn't just about someone sharing their feelings with you. It's about mutual vulnerability, mutual support, and mutual care. A genuinely interested man doesn't just take your emotional support, he offers his. He asks about your life with real interest. He wants to understand your challenges. He offers comfort when you're struggling. He celebrates your wins. He holds space for your emotions the way you hold space for his. There's reciprocity. If you're functioning as his unpaid therapist while your emotional needs go unmet, that's not a relationship. That's you being used for emotional labor. And you need to recognize that what feels like deep connection might actually be exploitation of your natural caregiving tendencies. Now let's talk about physical intimacy, because this is where things can get particularly confusing. When a man's interest isn't genuine, physical intimacy often happens without emotional intimacy or commitment. And the physical connection might be intense, which makes you feel like surely there must be real feelings involved. But physical chemistry and genuine interest are not the same thing. Someone can be very attracted to you, enjoy physical intimacy with you, and still have absolutely no intention of building a real relationship with you. In fact, sometimes physical intensity is used as a substitute for emotional connection, making you feel like there's more depth than actually exists. Pay attention to the context around physical intimacy. Does it happen only when he initiates and only on his terms? Does conversation about anything real or about the relationship tend to get redirected toward physical connection? After intimate moments, does he stick around and connect with you emotionally, or does he distance or leave? Does physical intimacy seem to be the main focus of your time together? When interest is genuine, physical intimacy is part of a broader connection that includes emotional intimacy, intellectual connection, spending quality time together, and moving toward commitment. It enhances the relationship rather than substituting for it. If your connection is primarily or only physical, or if physical intimacy is used to avoid deeper conversations or to keep you engaged without offering commitment, that's not genuine interest in you as a person. That's sexual interest or physical attraction, which is wonderful when it exists within the context of genuine care and respect, but empty when it exists in isolation. Let's discuss future talk, because this is one of the most painful forms of insincere interest. He talks about a future together constantly. He paints beautiful pictures of what your life together could look like. He might talk about trips you'll take, things you'll do together, how well you'll fit into each other's lives, even living together or marriage. It all sounds so real and specific and genuine. But here's the key. None of it ever materializes. The future he describes stays permanently in the future. There's no progression. There are no concrete steps toward those goals. There's no actual planning. It's all talk, no action. This is called future faking, and it's a manipulation tactic, whether conscious or unconscious. Future faking serves a specific purpose. It keeps you invested. It keeps you holding on. It keeps you believing that you're building towards something together. So you accept the inadequacy of the present. You tolerate behavior you wouldn't otherwise tolerate because you believe it's temporary and you're working toward this wonderful future together. But a genuinely interested man doesn't just talk about the future, he creates it. He takes concrete steps. If he talks about taking a trip together, he actually looks at dates and makes plans. If he mentions moving in together, he has real conversations about timing and logistics. If he envisions a future with you, he introduces you to important people in his life. He includes you in decisions. He moves things forward in tangible ways. If someone has been talking about a future with you for months or years, but absolutely nothing has changed in the relationship structure or level of commitment, you're being future faked. And the painful truth is that he either doesn't actually want those things or doesn't want them with you, but he keeps you around by making you think someday is coming. Stop letting someone's words about the future distract you from their actions in the present. The present is what's real. The present is what you're actually experiencing. And if the present isn't fulfilling and isn't progressing, the future talk is just a distraction technique. Another critical indicator is that he's inconsistent about contact and then blames you for having expectations. You'll notice patterns of him disappearing for days or weeks, then reappearing as if no time has passed. When you express that this bothers you, instead of acknowledging your feelings and addressing his behavior, he makes you feel like you're being clingy, needy, demanding, or irrational. He might say things like, "I didn't realize I had to check in constantly. I just got busy and forgot to text. You're being too sensitive. You're reading too much into things. I need space and you're smothering me. This is why I don't like relationships." This is a manipulation technique called blame shifting or Darvo, where he reverses victim and offender. You're reasonably expressing that his inconsistent contact makes you feel uncared for, and he flips it to make you the problem for having that feeling. This serves two purposes. It deflects accountability from him, and it makes you question your own reasonable expectations. Here's the truth. Wanting consistent communication from someone you're involved with is not needy. Wanting to feel valued and thought about is not demanding. Wanting someone to follow through on plans and promises is not unreasonable. These are basic expectations in any genuine connection. A man who's genuinely interested doesn't make you feel bad for wanting basic consideration. He doesn't gaslight you about your needs. He doesn't make you feel crazy for noticing his inconsistency. If he genuinely got busy and dropped the ball, he apologizes and does better. He doesn't attack you for pointing it out. If you're being made to feel like your very reasonable expectations are excessive, that's not genuine interest. That's someone trying to get the benefits of your attention and care without the responsibility of actually showing up consistently. Don't let anyone convince you that your standards are the problem when their behavior is actually what's problematic. Let's talk about breadcrumbing, which is related to inconsistent contact but deserves its own focus. Breadcrumbing is when someone gives you just enough attention to keep you interested, but never enough to actually move the relationship forward. It's the occasional text, the sporadic like on social media, the once in a while, let's get together soon, that never actually happens. It's being strung along with minimal effort. And what makes breadcrumbing so effective is that the small bits of attention feel significant when you're starving for connection with this person. A simple good morning text can sustain your hope for days. A casual "been thinking about you" message can make you believe he's serious about you. But breadcrumbs are not a meal. And if you're surviving on breadcrumbs, you're being systematically undernourished while being made to feel grateful for scraps. A genuinely interested man doesn't breadcrumb. He doesn't give you the bare minimum required to keep you as an option. He actually invests time, energy, attention, and effort into building something with you. If you find yourself analyzing every small interaction for meaning, if you're getting excited about a text message like it's a grand gesture, if you're holding on to tiny moments of attention for weeks, you're being breadcrumbed. And you need to ask yourself why you're settling for breadcrumbs when you deserve a feast. Now let's address something subtle but significant. He avoids defining the relationship or having conversations about where things are going. Every time you try to have a conversation about what you are to each other or where this is headed, he deflects. He might say, "Let's just see where things go. Why do we need to label things? I don't like putting pressure on relationships with expectations. Can't we just enjoy what we have?" And these statements sound reasonable on the surface. They sound like he's being mature and not rushing things. But here's the nuance. Defining relationship expectations isn't about pressure or rushing. It's about clarity and respect. It's about making sure you're on the same page and both investing in something with mutual understanding. When someone consistently avoids these conversations, it's usually because they know you wouldn't like the answer if they were honest. They want to keep things ambiguous because ambiguity allows them to operate without accountability. They can treat you like a partner when it's convenient and like a casual acquaintance when it's not. And you can't really call them out on it because you never actually defined what you are. A genuinely interested man who's serious about you might not want to rush into labels immediately, but he doesn't avoid conversations about expectations and direction. He wants you to know where you stand. He wants to make sure he's meeting your needs. He wants clarity as much as you do because he's actually building something. If you're months or years into something and still don't have clarity about what it is or where it's going, and attempts to get that clarity are consistently shut down, you have your answer. The ambiguity is intentional. He's keeping things undefined so he doesn't have to commit to treating you in any particular way. Stop accepting ambiguity when you need clarity. You have every right to know where you stand with someone you're investing time and emotions in. And if they won't give you that clarity, make the decision for yourself and walk away. Let's discuss something that's particularly insidious. He compares you to his ex or other women, usually in ways that seem complimentary but actually serve to manipulate you. He might say things like, "You're so much better than my ex. She was crazy and dramatic. You actually understand me." Or, "Most women are so demanding, but you're different. You're so laid back and easygoing." On the surface, these seem like compliments, but they're actually manipulation tactics that serve multiple purposes. First, they position you in competition with other women, making you want to prove you're better or different. Second, they set expectations for how you should behave to maintain your special status. Third, there are often subtle warnings about what happens if you don't meet those expectations. You'll become the crazy ex, the demanding one, the difficult woman. This creates a dynamic where you're performing being low maintenance or understanding or different. You suppress your needs, avoid setting boundaries, accept poor treatment, all to maintain this image of being the cool, easy woman who's not like the others. But genuine interest doesn't require you to compete or perform or be someone you're not. A man who's genuinely interested doesn't need to tear down other women to build you up. He doesn't compare you to his ex. He doesn't make you feel like you need to prove you're different or better. He appreciates you for who you actually are, not for how well you play the role of the idealized woman who makes no demands. If you're being compared to other women, pay attention to what's actually being communicated. It's not really a compliment, it's conditioning, and you don't need to accept it. Now here's something particularly painful. He keeps you separate from his emotions. You might be intimate physically, you might spend time together, you might even have deep conversations, but emotionally, there's a wall. You never quite feel like you really know him. He never fully lets you in. There's always a part of himself that he holds back. You might rationalize this by thinking he's been hurt before, or he's protecting himself, or he needs more time. And while those things might be true, there comes a point where someone who's genuinely interested in building a relationship with you starts to let those walls down. They take emotional risks. They let you see their vulnerability. They let you into their inner world. If months or years have passed and you still feel like you're on the outside looking in, that's not genuine interest in building intimacy with you. Someone might enjoy your company, appreciate your connection, benefit from what you provide, but still have absolutely no intention of truly opening themselves up to you or creating the deep emotional bond that makes a relationship meaningful. True intimacy requires emotional vulnerability from both people. If only you're being vulnerable while he remains emotionally distant or protected, that's not genuine interest in building intimacy. That's someone enjoying the benefits of your emotional openness while refusing to reciprocate. You cannot build a real relationship with someone who won't let you in emotionally, and you shouldn't spend years trying to earn access to someone's heart. Either they're willing to open up and be emotionally present, or they're not. And if they're not, no amount of patience or understanding from you will change that. Let's talk about how he responds to your needs and boundaries. This is one of the clearest indicators of whether interest is genuine. When you express a need or set a boundary, how does he react? Does he listen, respect it, and adjust his behavior accordingly? Or does he dismiss it, argue against it, make you feel bad for having it, or agree in the moment but never actually change? Genuine interest includes genuine respect. And genuine respect means honoring someone's needs and boundaries, even when they're inconvenient. It means valuing their comfort and well-being over your own convenience or preference. If you've expressed that you need better communication and nothing changes, that's not genuine interest. If you've set a boundary about how you want to be treated and it gets violated repeatedly, that's not genuine interest. If you've articulated what you need to feel secure in the relationship and those needs are dismissed as unreasonable, that's not genuine interest. Pay special attention to this. When someone genuinely cares about you and wants you in their life, they care about your experience of the relationship. They want you to feel good, safe, valued, and respected. They don't fight against your needs. They don't make you feel bad for having boundaries. They appreciate your honesty and they step up to meet you. If your needs are consistently unmet despite you clearly communicating them, if your boundaries are regularly crossed despite you setting them, that's your answer. Words of interest without action to meet your needs and respect your boundaries is not genuine interest. It's lip service. Now let's discuss energy exchange. Pay attention to who's doing most of the work in this connection, who initiates most of the conversations, who suggests getting together, who makes plans, who drives the connection forward, who's trying to understand the other person, who's making compromises, who's being flexible. When interest is genuine, there's relatively balanced energy exchange. Both people are invested. Both people are initiating. Both people are making effort. One person might do more at certain times, but it evens out. You don't feel like you're the only one trying. But when interest isn't genuine, you'll notice you're doing most of the heavy lifting. You're the one texting first most of the time. You're the one suggesting plans. You're the one adjusting your schedule to see him. You're the one trying to keep things alive. If you stopped initiating, the connection would probably fade because he's not actually driving it. This is exhausting, and it should tell you something important. Someone who wants you in their life participates actively in keeping you there. They don't make you do all the work. They don't leave you wondering if they even think about you when you're not actively in front of them initiating contact. If you're tired from carrying the entire weight of this connection, put it down. Let it sit and see if he picks it up. And if he doesn't, you have all the information you need. Stop fighting for someone's attention who isn't fighting to keep yours. Here's another sign that often gets overlooked. He's available for the fun parts, but unavailable for the hard parts. He's there when things are light and easy, when you're having a good time, laughing, enjoying each other's company, being intimate. But when life gets hard, when you're going through something difficult, when you need actual support, he disappears or minimizes what you're experiencing. Or maybe it's the opposite. He wants you there when he's going through hard times, leaning on you for support. But when you need him, he's suddenly unable to show up. Either pattern tells you that his interest is conditional and self-serving. Genuine interest includes showing up through both joy and difficulty. Someone who truly cares about you doesn't cherry-pick the easy moments and abandon you through the hard ones. They're there when you get the promotion and when you lose your job. They're there when you're fun and carefree and when you're stressed and overwhelmed. They're there through sickness and health, as the old vows say, because that's what real commitment looks like. If someone only wants you around for the good times but disappears when you need them, or if they only show up when they need something from you, that's not genuine interest in you as a whole person. That's someone using you for what you provide when it's convenient for them. Let's address something specific to mature women. He treats you like a secret or seems embarrassed about your age. This can be particularly painful because by this point in your life, you've earned the right to be celebrated, not hidden. If he doesn't want to be seen with you in certain contexts, if he's weird about age references, if he's hesitant to introduce you to people, if he makes comments about your age being an issue for him sometimes, these are all signs that his interest isn't genuine. Genuine interest includes genuine pride in being with you. Someone who's truly into you doesn't care about societal judgments or age stigma. They're proud to be with you. They think you're amazing and they want other people to see that. They celebrate your life experience and maturity. They see your age as an asset, not a liability. If someone is treating your age like something to hide or manage or overcome, they don't genuinely appreciate who you are. They might appreciate certain things about you or what you provide for them, but they don't genuinely value you as a complete person. And you deserve so much better than that. You've lived too much life and overcome too many challenges to accept being anyone's secret or embarrassment. The right person will be honored to be with you and will show that openly. Another indicator is that conversations about commitment trigger defensiveness or avoidance. You bring up wanting to move forward or define the relationship or discuss exclusivity, and instead of engaging with that conversation honestly, he becomes defensive. He might accuse you of being pushy or trying to trap him or not respecting his timeline. He might shut down or withdraw. He might turn it around on you and make you feel like you're the problem for wanting clarity. This reaction tells you two things. One, he's not interested in commitment, at least not with you. And two, he knows that being honest about that would likely result in you leaving, so he's deflecting to keep you around without offering what you want. A man who's genuinely interested and wants commitment might be nervous about the conversation, but he engages with it. He shares his feelings. He's honest about where he is and what he wants. He doesn't make you feel bad for wanting to define what you're building together. Defensiveness about commitment usually means either he doesn't want it in general or doesn't want it with you specifically, but likes having you around. Either way, that's not genuine interest in building a future together. Let's discuss how he handles conflict or disagreements. This is incredibly revealing. When you disagree about something or you're upset about his behavior, does he handle it with maturity, listening to your perspective and trying to find resolution? Or does he become defensive, dismissive, mean, or disappear entirely until things blow over? Genuine interest includes genuine care about how you feel, even when those feelings are uncomfortable for him, even when you're upset with him, even when working through it requires him to look at his behavior and make changes. Someone who truly values you doesn't abandon the relationship when things get uncomfortable. They work through it. But when interest isn't genuine, conflict is intolerable to him, not because he's so invested that he can't stand you being upset, but because your feelings are inconvenient and he doesn't care enough to do the work of resolution. It's easier for him to dismiss your concerns, make you feel like you're overreacting, or just ignore you until you drop it. Pay attention to whether your concerns and feelings are actually heard and addressed, or whether they're minimized and avoided. That tells you everything about whether he genuinely cares about your experience of the relationship. Here's something that might hurt to recognize. He's consistently breaking small promises. He says he'll call and doesn't. He says he'll let you know about plans and leaves you hanging. He commits to doing something and backs out. Individually, these might seem like small things. Life happens. People get busy, but the pattern matters. Small promises are actually a test of character and interest. Someone who genuinely cares about you honors their word on small things because they care about your experience and they don't want to disappoint you. They might occasionally drop the ball, but when they do, they apologize genuinely and do better. When someone consistently breaks small promises, it tells you that keeping their word to you isn't a priority. And if they can't be trusted with small commitments, they absolutely can't be trusted with big ones. This isn't about being unforgiving or demanding perfection. It's about recognizing a pattern that reveals where you rank in their priorities. If you're constantly disappointed by someone not following through on things they said they'd do, stop expecting them to. Their pattern is telling you who they are. Believe it. Let's talk about how he introduces you when he does introduce you. Does he introduce you proudly and clearly, or are his introductions vague? This is my friend, someone I've been seeing, just avoiding labels altogether. The way someone introduces you tells you how they see you and what they're willing to claim publicly. When someone is genuinely invested in you, there's pride in the introduction. There's clarity. There's no hedging or vagueness. They want people to know you're important to them. They want to claim that connection publicly. Vague introductions after you've been seeing each other for any significant time are a red flag. It suggests he's leaving the door open to pursue other people, managing perceptions, or unwilling to publicly acknowledge the depth of your connection. You deserve to be introduced with clarity and pride, not with vagueness that allows him to downplay your significance in his life. Another sign is that he's inconsistent with exclusivity. Maybe you've had conversations about being exclusive, or maybe it's implied by the nature of your relationship, but you keep catching signs that he's still active on dating apps, or that he's maintaining connections with other women that feel inappropriate. When you bring it up, he gaslights you about it, or minimizes your concerns, or accuses you of being jealous or insecure. Here's the thing. Expecting exclusivity in a committed relationship is not jealousy. Wanting your partner to not actively pursue other options while supposedly building something with you is not insecurity. These are reasonable expectations. If someone is supposed to be committed to you, but is maintaining backup options or actively dating other people, that's not genuine interest in building a future with you. That's hedging bets. That's keeping you as an option while leaving the door open for something better. You deserve someone who chooses you fully, not someone who keeps shopping around while stringing you along. Here's something subtle but significant. He's uncomfortable with you being independent or having a full life outside of him. This might seem counterintuitive because Didn't we just say genuine interest means actually wanting to spend time together? But there's a crucial difference. Genuine interest wants to be part of your full life. Insincere interest wants to control your life or resents your independence. You might notice he gets weird when you make plans that don't include him. He might make comments about you being too busy for him or having too many friends or being too focused on other things. He might try to make you feel guilty for having a life outside the relationship. Or he might use your independence as an excuse for his lack of investment. You're so independent you don't really need me anyway. This is manipulation. Genuine interest respects and appreciates your independence. A secure man who truly wants to be with you is happy that you have a full life. He wants to add to it, not replace it or control it. He's not threatened by your friendships, your career, your hobbies, or your time with family. If someone tries to make you feel bad for having a life, or uses your independence against you, that's not genuine interest. That's either insecurity or a desire to control you. Neither is acceptable. Let's discuss financial behavior because this can be revealing, especially in relationships between mature adults. I'm not suggesting anyone should pay for anyone else or that there's a right way to handle finances in dating, but pay attention to whether there's reciprocity and thoughtfulness. If he never offers to pay for anything, never contributes to dates or experiences, expects you to always cover things or split things while clearly having the means to contribute, that suggests a lack of investment. Or on the flip side, if he uses money as a manipulation tool, paying for things and then holding it over you, or expecting something in return, that's also problematic. Genuine interest includes wanting to contribute to shared experiences and treating you with generosity and thoughtfulness. Not because anyone owes anyone money, but because when you care about someone, you want to add value to their life, including sometimes treating them or contributing financially to things you do together. If someone is consistently taking financially without giving or using money to manipulate or control, those are signs that the interest isn't genuine. They're either using you for financial benefit or using financial contribution as a tool to maintain power. Now let's talk about how he speaks about you to others. You might not always know this directly, but sometimes you'll get hints from things people say or how they react to you. If people in his life seem surprised that you're together, or they make comments that suggest he's painted a different picture of the relationship, or they treat you like you're temporary or insignificant, pay attention. Someone who's genuinely into you speaks about you positively and accurately to people in their life. They don't downplay the relationship. They don't talk about you in ways that make you seem less important than you are. They don't complain about you to friends while acting differently to your face. If there's a disconnect between how he treats you in private and what he's apparently telling people about you, that's a serious red flag. It suggests he's managing perceptions and maintaining different narratives in different contexts. That's not genuine interest. That's someone working an angle. Let's discuss something that's become more relevant in the digital age. His social media behavior. Does he acknowledge your relationship on social media in ways that feel appropriate for your connection? Or is he hiding you? Is he posting about his life but never mentioning you even though you're a significant part of it? Is he liking or commenting on other women's posts in ways that feel disrespectful to your relationship? Now, not everyone is comfortable with public displays on social media, and that's totally valid. But there's a difference between having a boundary around privacy and actively hiding someone. If he posts about every other aspect of his life, but somehow you're invisible, if he's interacting with potential romantic interests publicly while keeping you secret, those are signs of insincere interest. Someone who's genuinely proud to be with you doesn't hide you. They find age-appropriate ways to acknowledge your importance in their life if they're active on social media. They don't treat you like a secret while publicly flirting with others. Another indicator is how he responds to your success or good news. Does he celebrate you genuinely, or does he seem threatened, dismissive, or competitive? When you share good news, does he match your energy and express genuine happiness for you? Or does he minimize it, change the subject to himself, or find ways to diminish your achievement? Genuine interest includes genuine happiness for your happiness. Someone who truly cares about you wants to see you thrive. They celebrate your wins. They're proud of your accomplishments. Your success doesn't threaten them. If someone consistently responds to your good news with anything less than genuine support and celebration, they don't have your best interests at heart. They might be envious, competitive, or simply not invested enough in your well-being to genuinely care about what makes you happy. You deserve someone who's your biggest cheerleader, not someone who diminishes your light. Now let's discuss how he handles your relationship with his family and friends. When someone is genuinely interested in building a life with you, they want to integrate you into their world. They want their people to know you and love you. They create opportunities for you to connect with people who matter to them. But when interest isn't genuine, he keeps you separate. Maybe he makes excuses about why you can't meet his family. Maybe he avoids situations where you'd be around his friends. Maybe he's introduced you, but in ways that clearly communicate you're not significant. Maybe his people treat you like you're temporary, because he's given them no reason to believe otherwise. This tells you he's not serious, because when someone is serious about you, integrating you into their life is a natural priority. They're not hiding you. They're not keeping you separate. They're proud to have you meet people who matter to them. If you've been with someone for a significant time and haven't met anyone important in their life, or if you have, but you're clearly not positioned as important to him, that's your answer. He's not serious about you. Let's talk about how he handles his past. Everyone has a past. Everyone has exes. Everyone has history. But pay attention to whether he's actually dealt with his past or whether he's dragging it into your present. Is he constantly comparing you to exes? Is he still in inappropriate contact with former partners? Is he clearly not over someone? More importantly, does he take responsibility for his part in past relationships ending? Or is every ex crazy and every past relationship her fault? Because here's the thing. If every relationship he's had has ended badly and none of it was his fault, he's either the unluckiest person in the world or he's not taking accountability. Genuine interest includes emotional availability and taking responsibility for past behavior. Someone who's genuinely ready for and interested in a healthy relationship with you has done the work to process their past and learn from it. If he's emotionally tangled up in past relationships or refuses to acknowledge his patterns, he's not genuinely available for real connection with you, regardless of what he says he wants. Another sign is that he doesn't remember or follow through on things that are important to you. You mentioned you have a big presentation at work on Thursday. Thursday comes and goes, and he doesn't ask how it went. You told him your daughter is coming to visit this weekend. The weekend happens and he doesn't acknowledge it. You shared that you're stressed about a health concern. He never asks if you got results or how you're feeling. These aren't about him needing to track every detail of your life. They're about basic care and attention. When someone genuinely cares about you, they remember things that matter to you. They check in. They show interest in outcomes of things you've shared concern or excitement about. If someone consistently demonstrates that what matters to you doesn't register as important enough to remember or follow up on, they're not genuinely interested. They're going through motions without actual investment in your life. Let's discuss his relationship with honesty. Does he tell you the truth, even when it's uncomfortable? Or does he lie about small things, omit important information, or tell you what you want to hear instead of what's actually true? Someone who's genuinely interested in building something real with you prioritizes honesty, even when it's difficult. They might not always have perfect communication, but their intent is to be truthful. They don't manipulate with lies. They don't hide important information. They don't deceive. If you're catching him in lies, even small ones, pay attention. Dishonesty is a foundation for nothing good. And someone who lies about small things will absolutely lie about big things. If you can't trust his word, you can't trust his intentions. Here's something particularly painful. He's unwilling to work on issues or grow. Every relationship requires growth and adjustment. Every human has areas where they can improve. But is he willing to look at himself and do better when needed? Or does he resist any suggestion that his behavior could use adjustment? When you bring up concerns, does he get defensive and insist you're the problem? Does he refuse to consider therapy or reading books or having conversations that might require him to examine his behavior? Is he stuck in his ways with no interest in growing? Genuine interest in building a lasting relationship includes willingness to grow and work on things. Nobody's perfect, but someone who truly wants to be with you cares enough to work on becoming a better partner. If he's unwilling to do any self-reflection or make any changes, no matter how reasonable your concerns, he's not interested in building something healthy with you. He wants you to accept him as is, flaws and all, while expecting you to adjust and accommodate endlessly. That's not partnership. That's selfish entitlement. Let's talk about energy. How do you feel after spending time with him? Genuinely interested partners leave you feeling energized, valued, happy, and secure. Even if you've had a serious conversation or worked through something challenging, you feel closer and good about the connection. But if you consistently feel drained, anxious, confused, insecure, or depleted after interactions, your body is telling you something. Maybe he's taking more than he's giving. Maybe the connection is toxic in ways you're not fully acknowledging. Maybe you're working so hard to maintain the relationship that it's exhausting you. Your emotional and energetic response to someone is incredibly wise. Pay attention to it. If this connection consistently leaves you feeling bad, even if you can't fully articulate why, trust that feeling. Here's another crucial sign. He dismisses your intuition. Your gut tells you something is off. Maybe you sense he's being dishonest about something. Maybe you feel like he's seeing other people. Maybe you just have this persistent feeling that something isn't right. And when you express this, he makes you feel crazy for having that intuition. He tells you you're paranoid, you're insecure, you're reading too much into things, you're being dramatic. He gaslights you into doubting your own instincts. This is particularly effective manipulation because it makes you question your ability to perceive reality accurately. But here's what I want you to understand. Your intuition is real. It's picking up on subtle cues, inconsistencies, and patterns that your conscious mind might not have fully processed yet. When something feels off, it usually is off. And a genuinely interested partner doesn't make you feel crazy for your feelings. They take your concerns seriously and address them honestly. If someone is consistently dismissing your gut feelings and making you doubt your own perception, that's psychological manipulation. And it's a massive red flag. Finally, let's discuss the most painful truth. He tells you he's not ready for a relationship, or he's not sure what he wants, or he can't give you what you need, but he continues to engage with you as if those limitations don't exist. He's honest about his unavailability in words, but his actions say something different. This is particularly confusing because you can't accuse him of lying. He told you he wasn't available, but he acts available enough to keep you hooked. He gives you enough crumbs of connection to maintain your hope that maybe he'll change his mind. Maybe you'll be the one he decides he's ready for. Maybe if you're patient enough and understanding enough, he'll come around. But here's the hard truth. When someone tells you they're not available, believe them. Don't focus on their inconsistent actions. Focus on their words. They're telling you the truth about their limitations. The actions that contradict that truth aren't evidence of deeper feelings. They're evidence of selfish behavior. He wants the benefits of connection with you without the commitment. He's willing to use you for what you provide, while being honest that he won't actually give you what you need. That's not genuine interest. That's using you while telling you he's using you, and then acting hurt or confused when you get upset about it because he did tell you, didn't he? Stop trying to earn someone's full investment when they've told you they're not capable of or interested in giving it. Stop accepting treatment that doesn't meet your needs because someone was honest about not being able to meet them. If someone can't give you what you need, their honesty about that doesn't obligate you to stick around anyway. In fact, it should give you clarity to walk away. So now you have it, a comprehensive look at the signs that someone's interest isn't genuine. And I know this might have been difficult to hear, especially if you recognized your situation in some or many of these patterns. But understanding these signs is actually empowering, not depressing, because once you can see clearly what's happening, you can make informed choices about how to respond. You're no longer operating in confusion or giving someone the benefit of the doubt they haven't earned. You're operating from clarity and self-respect. And here's what I want you to really understand. None of this means you did anything wrong. It doesn't mean you're unlovable or that there's something wrong with you or that you somehow attracted this treatment. Some people are simply not capable of or interested in genuine connection. And sometimes people enjoy what you provide without being willing to truly invest. That's about them, not you. Your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see it or respect it. Your worthiness of real love doesn't change based on encountering people who aren't ready or able to offer it. You are still absolutely deserving of genuine interest, genuine care, genuine commitment, and genuine love. What you do with this information now is what matters, and what I hope you'll do is be ruthlessly honest with yourself about the patterns you're experiencing. Stop making excuses for behavior that doesn't meet your needs. Stop accepting words without corresponding actions. Stop settling for breadcrumbs when you deserve the whole meal. Stop convincing yourself that someday will come when the present clearly shows you it won't. Your time is precious, your energy is valuable, your heart is a gift, and you get to decide who deserves access to those things. Not based on who wants access, but based on who demonstrates through consistent action that they will treasure what you're offering. If you're currently in a situation where you recognize these signs, you have a decision to make, and I can't make it for you. Only you can decide what you're willing to accept and what you're not. Only you can decide when enough is enough. Only you can decide to walk away from what's not serving you and toward what might. But I can tell you this. Every moment you spend investing in someone whose interest isn't genuine is a moment you're not available for someone whose interest could be. Every ounce of energy you pour into trying to convince someone to choose you is energy. You're not investing in yourself or in being available for someone who would choose you easily and consistently. You don't need to convince the right person to want you. You don't need to perform or prove or wait or tolerate poor treatment or suppress your needs. The right person sees your value clearly and treats you accordingly. The right person makes you feel secure, not confused. The right person's interest is consistent, not sporadic. The right person's actions match their words. The right person doesn't leave you guessing where you stand. And that person exists. But you might not be available to find them if you're still holding space for someone who's shown you through their behavior that they're not genuinely interested in what you need. I know walking away is hard. I know starting over feels daunting. I know the fear of being alone is real. But I also know that being alone is infinitely better than being with someone who makes you feel alone. And I know that you are strong enough, worthy enough, and valuable enough to demand better. So if you need this video to be your wake-up call, let it be. If you need permission to walk away from what's hurting you, consider it given. If you need validation that your standards aren't too high, they're not. You deserve genuine interest. You deserve real commitment. You deserve someone who sees you and chooses you and shows up for you consistently. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. And don't convince yourself to settle for less than you need in the name of being patient or understanding or not giving up. There's a difference between being patient with someone who's genuinely trying and being strung along by someone who's comfortable with your discomfort. You know which one you're experiencing. Trust yourself. Trust your gut. Trust that you deserve better. And then take action accordingly. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through. If this resonated with you, please do me a favor. Hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps this content reach more women who need to hear these truths. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts or your experiences. Knowing that this content helps you helps me know what to create more of. And please share this video with any woman in your life who might need this message today. Sometimes we need to hear these truths from an outside source to finally see clearly what we've been avoiding seeing. If you're not already subscribed to the Heart Code, subscribe now and turn on notifications. We create content like this regularly because we're committed to empowering you with psychological insights and relationship truths that actually serve your well-being. This channel exists for you. And if you found real value in this video and want to support the work we're doing, please consider leaving a super thanks. It directly supports the channel and allows us to keep creating the kind of deep dive, comprehensive content that can genuinely change lives. Your support means everything and enables us to keep showing up for you. Remember, you are worthy of real love. You are worthy of genuine interest. You are worthy of someone who sees your value and treats you accordingly. Don't settle for less. Don't make yourself smaller. Don't suppress your needs. Don't wait forever for someone to be ready. Choose yourself, honor yourself, protect yourself, and trust that the right person will make choosing them easy, not exhausting. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, be kind to yourself. Trust your intuition and never forget your worth.